Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining our weekly CMP webinar. My name is Colleen Fillmore, and I am the Idaho State Department of Education Child Nutrition Director. On this webinar is the entire staff of CMP to answer any questions you have in running the child nutrition program. We would like to thank everyone for your continued hard work in feeding Idaho's children during COVID-19. We have heard so many positive stories, great teamwork, partnership. Yesterday, I started having several pictures sent to me, so thank you so much. We really appreciate everyone's hard work. So the agenda today will include me kicking off with some updates with USDA, a brief update on some direct certification numbers that we've been tracking since before COVID started. Then I'm going to be sharing the screen over to Linda. She'll be discussing NSLP. Then Mary Ann will be discussing summer food. Mary Ann will give the screen to TJ for USDA Foods. And then Heather will be discussing some more on the ART grant. And after Heather, we will be addressing the questions that will be submitted during this webinar. So let's go ahead and get started. There have been some questions that have been asked, and we are waiting. We have turned around and asked for the answers to USDA and are waiting for further guidance. So let's go and discuss some of those. So one of the questions is school districts are asking if they do reopen the schools before the end of the school year, what child nutrition programs are they allowed to follow or continue with? So we have a partial answer here, but not a complete answer. If a school district or a school building does reopen, they will need to begin the National School Lunch Program as they had before the COVID-19. USDA guidance is that you can have a grab and go for the families that choose to not send their children back to the reopened school. However, the grab and go is only for students enrolled in the school that has been reopened. Now, the part of the question that we have not gotten answered from USDA is we have asked if a school district or building does reopen, can they continue the bus routes and or the home deliveries for those families that choose to not send their children back to school? USDA has not given approval for this part, and we will let you know when we do hear back from them. We've also had several districts ask our office what the process is from moving from our current COVID-19 seamless summer and summer food program to the regular summer months. And we know the urgency for this. It feels like summer is coming upon us quickly. We have asked USDA this question, and we are waiting for an answer on that. And we promise we will get you that guidance once we receive that. And then just a couple of additional things. As a reminder, if you plan to serve more than 1 day's worth of meals to children at one time, the COVID-19 Congregate Feeding Waiver Request Form addendum must be completed and sent into our office for approval. This addendum is on the governor's website, and also we did send it to the program contact through broadcast email. And then also yesterday, USDA sent to all state agencies some date extensions for some waivers. So please check your inbox, the broadcast email system, for this information. We will also be putting this information on the governor's website. And once our office has had time to process this information, we will be giving more guidance to you. And lastly, just wanted to let you know that our office has been tracking direct certification numbers since January of this year, just before COVID started. We have seen slightly over a 7% increase in the direct certification numbers. And as a reminder, or to our audience that maybe is not as involved with direct certification, this is a partnership that we have with DHW. These numbers mainly reflect SNAP or food stamp numbers and TAFI, which is Temporary Assistance for Families in Idaho. There's some other numbers in there too, but the majority is for them. So we are seeing a definite increase in those numbers. So at this time, I am going to hand the screen over to Linda so she can talk about National School Lunch. And as a friendly reminder, there's a couple of things before Linda starts talking. Please be submitting your questions. And then lastly, I wanted to let everyone know there's a very short survey. It's actually only one question at the end of this webinar. We would like to know from you, because we know how busy you are, the frequency that you would like these webinars to continue. So if you would please answer that one question once this webinar is done, we would appreciate that. So Linda, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Colleen. Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you're seeing my screen. Wanted to give a few reminders to those of you out there who have submitted your waivers to the state agency that may have just covered March 20th to April 20th. If you change your serving dates or extend them due to the extended school closure, remember to go into My Idaho CMP and extend the dates in your Seamless Summer application. So you would go under Seamless Summer option, you'd hit revise, and on my screen you'll see that this is someone who has extended their date to May 21st. And also remember to put in how many days in May that you would be serving. And this is a huge thing. Don't forget to hit submit for approval. There are currently 4 sponsors in My Idaho CMP that have made changes, but they've not submitted. The application must be submitted by you, approved by the state agency, before you can submit a claim. So remember the all-important big red button, submit for approval. So after your claim is submitted, I just wanted to remind everybody that the claim reporting form must be completed with the meal counts as a claim backup and emailed to the state agency within 2 weeks of submitting your claim for both Seamless and Summer Food. And the form can be found in the COVID-19 materials in the download forms section of My Idaho CMP. And a helpful hint, this form is a USDA requirement for us to track for reporting to USDA. And we want to know the number of meals claimed. Not that you're just serving breakfast and lunch. I don't want to see a number 2. You're serving 400 meals at this site and 200 meals at this site. We need specifics, even though you're putting it into My Idaho CMP. We're anticipating USDA is going to be wanting us to turn in these forms to them in a year. That is part of the COVID-19 waivers, is we have a reporting requirement sometime in the next 12 months. So with that, I am going to change to, or pass the screen on to Marianne, who will talk to you about Summer Food Program. Here you go, Marianne.
Thanks, Linda. Let me get my stuff set up over here. And I hope everyone can see my screen that I would like to share with everyone. Good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Marianne Leiby. I'm the Sfsp coordinator, and I just have a couple of documents to share with you guys. It's just a couple of reminders. As you guys can see on my screen, I have done some screenshots of the Sfsp sponsor packet application. Myself, Dominique, and the rest of the CNP team are going into the summer feeding section of My Idaho CNP, and we are processing a lot of packets And there's been a couple of questions that we have gone back and forth with some sponsors, and so we thought that it would be helpful just to do this this reminder with some visuals so that you guys can see what we're looking for. So as you guys can see on my screen, I have a screenshot here of the Summer Food Service application packet. As you guys can see, there's different sections that you must complete in order to submit the packet to the state agency. Some of them are the sponsor application, civil rights information, food production facility, and etc. I do want to mention that under the COVID-19 operation, the checklist summary, where you guys usually upload the intent to operate, the health department notifications, public releases, those are usually required to submit in order to for the state agency to approve your packet. But under COVID-19 operation, we have waived that section for the school food authority sponsors. So you do not need to complete this section until we resume our traditional or normal SFSP operations. For nonprofit organizations or nonprofit sponsors, you are not waived from this from the budget and management plan requirement. So again, for the nonprofit sponsors, you must complete the budget and management plan. But for the school food authority sponsors, you do not need to complete that. And going down the documents, under the sponsor application for question 39, we have quite a few sponsors that have selected no on this section, but you must actually select yes, because you do operate or provide year-round public service to the community. So for example, the NSLP program. For question 12, this is also a thing that we've noticed on some of the packets that we've had to return. Make sure to indicate a training date on this section, question number 12. So for the folks that signed up to do the in-person training earlier this year, obviously that did not happen. So please make sure you indicate the date that you registered to complete that in-person training. Most of you guys know we have transitioned that to an online training. So you can also indicate here the date that you completed that online training through the learning portal. And then the next section that I wanted to review with you guys are the site applications. So as you guys can see on this screenshot, we have a sponsor that listed all of their sites that they're operating under COVID-19. If you guys do not see your site on this selection or on this screen, please make sure you click the add site selection, because we would include the sites that you've indicated on your attachment A on the back end of My Idaho CMP. So in case you do not see your sites under this SFSP site list, please make sure to click on add site selection and select the site that you're missing and create the site application for that open site. Also, on the site application under question 25, as you guys know, offer versus serve is not allowable during COVID-19 operation. So please ensure to select another box, either the unitized meal or other. If you do select the other on this section, please make sure to leave a note indicating that you are serving the meal components as a unit. So we want to make sure that the food items are being provided together or all at once. Another section that we've also noticed is the section for breakfast and lunch. Let's see. On B1 and L1, the start and end date should match on your site application, and it must reflect the dates under COVID-19. Once we transition into the traditional SFSP operations, you would update this on your end and resubmit that to the state as we get closer to the summer months operation. But as of right now, for us to process your site applications and approve your packet, the start and end date must reflect the COVID-19 operation date. And then also under B5 and L5, I believe. Yep, B5 and L5, this is your average daily participation that you've submitted to the state. And then B6 and L6 is the cap that the state agency has indicated for that specific site application. So if you begin to reach that maximum number of meals that may be served, or the cap number, you must update on your end the average daily participation to reflect the numbers that you've served at each of your location, and resubmit that to the state agency, or resubmit your packet to the state agency so that we can process that again, and update your cap on B6 and L6 and approve your packet back to you. And one last thing on the SFSP packet application, on question 29, we've had quite a few sponsors that just left this blank or put NA in it. If you are operating under COVID-19 operation past, let's say, Memorial Weekend, so if you're operating up to the beginning of June, if you are closing meal service on Memorial Day, we will need you to indicate that on question 29. So please make sure to state that on this section. So that is the reminder that I wanted to do for the SFSP packet. The other thing that I wanted to change over is the information that we reviewed last week at the webinar regarding the online training for the summer food service program. As you guys remember from last week, I shared this screenshot with you guys, and we have uploaded 2 training PowerPoints for sponsors to complete. One of them is the refresher PowerPoint training, and that training is specifically for sponsors who signed up for the half-day in-person training. And then there's also one that's the SFSP 101 training. Let me see if it's on the next page here. Oops. Oh, no, maybe not. I apologize for that. But the other one is the SFSP 101 training for new sponsors and any sponsors who signed up for the all-day training in person that we had scheduled originally. And then the other documents that you guys will need to review as well are the 5 online training that we have available on the CMP Digital Learning Portal, as well as all of the documents that we have uploaded on a thumb drive that we would have provided to you when we had the in-person scheduled originally. But all of those documents under the thumb drive have been uploaded on the CMP Digital Learning Portal under the 2020 SFSP training documents. So again, all the online training PowerPoints and presentations are on the learning portal. And if you guys have any questions, please feel free to contact the state agency. And so with that, I am changing over to TJ for some information on her end. So TJ, let me change this over to you.
Great, thank you, Marianne. All right, good morning, everybody. Thank you again for joining our webinars. We wanted to just go ahead and cover a little bit of information about USDA foods and highlight a few things that have happened over the course of meal service transitioning from our original sort of reactive mode to planning for how to sustain meal service over the foreseeable future, basically. A couple of things that we wanted to share was, hopefully you can all see my screen where I am showing this is the USDA Foods infographic that was created by one of our staff members, Jessica Savoya. And what we wanted to cover mostly was to ensure that there is an understanding about how to fit USDA foods into whatever delivery model you're using, particularly home delivery, but also to focus on remembering that the summer food service program, the meal pattern, has some very the meal pattern is different than the NSLP meal pattern, and we just want to make sure that there's a understanding to be serving the required portion. And Dominique, who was previously our summer foods coordinator, reminded us that oftentimes when they go out and do a review, there's not a sufficient amount of meat alternate being served. So keep in mind with the summer feeding program, the meat alternate requirement of 1 serving is actually a 2-ounce portion. So it's really critical that you're paying attention to those meal patterns. The other thing we wanted to cover was just knowing that these handouts are available. We made this particular flyer that you're currently looking at. So it goes through some options for home delivery and how to consider using USDA foods. This flyer is available on the webinar, the handout for Food Safe School Action Guide. And considering the type of delivery model that you might be able to use is really important, but making sure obviously that those foods are safe. One other thing that I wanted to touch on with USDA foods is to remind everyone that there are available products on the exchange document. And I had a really great exchange with a school district yesterday who is working towards making sure they're serving some warm meals as well as what we call IW, or individually wrapped convenience food items. And so keep in mind that you can still cook foods, operational foods, and then package them so that they're going to families for a hot lunch option from time to time. So look at that exchange document and determine if there are any foods out there that you can use, keeping in mind also that at this time, if you are out of entitlement funds, that is okay. The state agency is going to allow any school district who needs those foods for meal service to claim the foods regardless of your entitlement status. One final point is if you were not able to participate in yesterday's American Commodities Distribution Association webinar, the presenters were 4 different school districts, all of varying sizes, large, medium, and rural. And they presented their model for service, and there were some excellent ideas about how to utilize existing foods to avoid the expense, basically, of having to continually ask your vendor to provide individually wrapped food. So keep all those things in mind. We're open to suggestions at the state agency, and we're willing to provide suggestions out. So if there's anything that we can do, make sure to send an email to the USDA Foods team at sde.idaho.gov, and we'll see what we can do to share information. And with that, I'm going to now turn the time over to Heather Bloom so she can cover our wonderful art grant information. So bear with me while I change over to Heather, and thank you.
Thank you, DJ. So what I would like to share with you all is the same opportunity we discussed last week, but we have had the opportunity to post it on the State Department of Education website. So it's actually listed under grant opportunities, which is the same place that the fresh fruit and vegetable grant was posted a little bit ago. So this opportunity, you can see the fresh fruit and vegetable down here. This opportunity has the flyer that we originally discussed, which is just a little bit of a quick overview of what that process would look like. The website also has the link to the request form, which is the Microsoft form. It takes about 5 minutes to fill it out. Very basic information of really who is interested and how to contact them and how you would like your district to be represented in the Nutrilink software. And then finally, an FAQ document, which is actually comprised of all the questions that people asked on last week's webinar. So just as a quick recap, Idaho awarded Nutrilink an opportunity to provide a statewide online free and reduced application. So for those who are interested in that service, you can go to the grants opportunity webpage on the Idaho State Department of Education website and find out more about that, as well as indicate your level of interest if you would like to provide an online free and reduced application to families in your district. So that's really all I had, and I'm going to turn it back over to Colleen now for any Q&As that are in the question panel. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Excuse me. So let's go and start going through the questions. So it looks like we have several good ones. The first one, do we have updated information on whether or not a closed school needs to have a second health inspection? So Linda, you want to take that one?
Sure, thanks, Colleen. It's a great question, and we just got, we just asked USDA, and we're waiting further guidance on this. As soon as we know, we will let sponsors and the health districts know what their answer is, because the health districts are the ones that are asking me the question. So, good question.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Next question, TJ, I'll give this to you. I was wondering if, in addition to the first week site review for each bus route, do I need to do a full site review and a racial ethnic data form for each site?
Thank you, Colleen. So just as a reminder, the state agency has made available on the governor's website the COVID-19 nationwide USDA waiver SFSP request form, on-site monitoring waiver form, as well as an FSO request form. So it is not, if you would like to complete those waivers and submit them to the state agency, you are not required to complete the monitoring at this time.
Okay, thank you, TJ. Okay, Jessica, I'm going to give this one to you. If we are doing home deliveries, do we need to put each address into our site?
Thanks, Colleen. The answer is no. If you are submitting for new stops in terms of an attachment A and need to make adjustments to that, we don't need any home delivery addresses. The only time you would submit a new attachment A is if you're using bus stops that are open feeding sites where anybody can go and grab a meal. If you're referring to your site application in My Idaho CMP, again, the answer is no. Home deliveries will be one site. So you may be doing, 20 different home deliveries, but when you have the site entered into My Idaho CMP, it is only going to be one site titled home deliveries. So you won't need to enter individual addresses.
Great, Jessica. Thank you so much. Okay, the next question is for Mary Ann. You said you would have to update our average lunch numbers if they increase. What if they have been decreasing? Would we need to update the numbers that way?
Awesome. Thanks for that, Colleen. And I apologize, I misspoke on my first response to this question. You do need to update that on your site application if you are seeing a decrease of meal service numbers for each of your sites. And the reason for this is the state agency would like to capture the historical data for our sponsors. So we want to make sure that that is being updated accordingly. So you do need to update that if you're seeing a decrease. Thanks, Colleen.
Yeah, thank you, Mary Ann. Okay, so next question is, was yesterday's webinar recorded? And I'm assuming you mean active. Let me, before I give this to TJ, there was also a webinar yesterday statewide from the superintendent and the directors. If you're asking about that one, all webinars through SDE are put out on the governor's website, but this one might be for TJ under active. So TJ, take it away.
Thank you, Colleen. Yes, the active webinars, they are concurrent. They're running regular Wednesday webinars that take place at 11 a.m. on Wednesdays, and they are recorded. So active members, you can log in to the active portal and view those. However, if you have not been able to become an active member, please let us know, and we're happy to make sure that you have available some of the information that was provided on that webinar.
Okay, so the next question is, my school isn't showing up in the CNP portal. We currently do not have a lunch program, but have 52% economically disadvantaged, and we have been trying to get a program going over a year. Projected impact STEM Academy. You don't need to read this question. Sorry, didn't get to that part until now. But if you could email me with this. Okay, so sorry, just reading the email, didn't see. So go ahead. Jill, you can go ahead and contact our office. We're happy to work with you, but there's definitely some pre-approval things that can happen, that are mandated to happen through USDA before you can be put on the program. So sometimes it can take a while, especially under a situation right now under COVID-19. So go ahead and give us a call. Okay, let me see. I don't see any other questions at this point. So,
hey, Colleen, can I add to the last one? If they're talking about the CNP Direct Cert portal, they have to be a current CNP sponsor to get onto that portal.
Actually, very good point. That is true. We cannot, by USDA regulation and confidentiality, there's paperwork, actually quite important certification paperwork for getting into any of our systems, and you have to be an approved sponsor before that can happen. Oh, she mentioned I was just wanting the training part. How do our people get trained? So, Jill, why don't you go ahead and give us a call? I think that would probably be a more appropriate area for discussion versus the webinar. We're happy to help you. So go ahead and, you know, contact our NSLP team, and they can help you through that process. Okay, so any other questions? Okay, let me see, just got another one. Is the Nutrilink application program in Spanish as well as English? So Heather, you want to take that one?
Yes, so the way that Nutrilink operates, if you're talking about the actual online application, they do have a Spanish application. They actually have a number of alternate translations besides English. If you're looking for the promotional flyer to be in Spanish, we currently don't have any Spanish materials to inform our districts about this opportunity. But if you elect to participate and use the online free and reduced app, Nutrilink does provide both an application in Spanish as well as other translations, and they have promotional material that would go from your district to families to tell them about the online app. So in Spanish particularly, there is an online application as well as promotional materials that would go from you to inform the families in your districts about this opportunity to use an online application.
Thank you, Heather. And we're very excited about the interest that we've seen in this program. So thank you very much. We think it will be a great benefit to those participating. Okay, so Linda, I'll give you this next one. How long does it take for families to show up in our direct certification after they have applied for SNAP, TAFI, etc.?
Okay,
Sorry, I guess TJ said she would take it. My screen keeps jumping at me.
I've already answered it. We get nightly uploads in our DC program, so it should be a matter of days from when Health and Welfare enters it into their system, then we receive the notification. The state match is sent to districts weekly, so you should be getting it pretty much in real time.
Yeah, and I love this question. It's a really good reminder for us to really be going out there and checking that direct certification system, because under our current COVID situation, chances are your information is changing quite quickly. Okay, any other input from the team on that question?
No, Colleen, this is TJ, and thank you for adding that little caveat, because I did want to remind folks that you do not have to necessarily wait for a state match notification. If you are regularly uploading information, you will get matches nightly, as Linda indicated, as things change, because we do get information. We get a daily report from DHW that is uploaded into our DC system.
And thank you, TJ. And I'm not sure how many of our audience, what they're aware of on the Idaho Direct Cert program, but we are one of the few in the nation that uploads nightly. And we are considered to have one of the best direct certification systems in the nation. So please take advantage of that great tool and resource that you have there. Okay, I do not see any other questions, and we still do have some time. So let's just kind of wait here for a few minutes and see if anyone else puts any additional questions in. Does anyone on the CMP staff at the state agency have anything else that they would like to add? Okay. Well, we definitely want to give everyone the opportunity to ask questions, and still not seeing any come through. One thing we would like to, as a team, remind you is to go ahead and do the, excuse me, the short survey at the end as far as how often you would like to see these webinars. We're wondering if you want to continue to see them weekly, if you want to see them maybe a couple of times a month, you know, just how you would like to go forward with that. We know everyone's busy. If you cannot attend these, then as a real good reminder, we do have these archived out on the governor's website. I've gotten quite a few emails where people have not been able to find the webinar, and I can understand the reason for the question, because it might be in an area that you would not look in. It's not under child nutrition, but if you go to the bottom of the list under schools for the governor website, it is listed under webinars. And so if you then click the webinar link, you will see that it's broken out into sections. And I looked yesterday afternoon when I was responding to an email, and I think we currently have 4 that are out there right now. It takes maybe about a day or so to get them out there because we need to make them ADA compliant. So we do have a few more questions coming in. First one is, I was asked to provide school for new school. What resources should I look into that? Let me see, let me read that again. I was asked to provide school for a new school. What resources should I look into that? I'm not sure I understand the question.
Colleen, she clarified. She wants to provide meals for a new school, 4 questions down.
Oh, okay, okay. I do see. Sorry, please provide meals for a new school. I would recommend that this person call our office to go through the details of, you know, when you have a new site or you're trying to get on the program. You know, there are some mandated steps from USDA that we have to go through as a state agency before you can get on. And so unless the NSLP team has additional information that you would like to share beyond that. Okay.
Yeah, Colleen, this is Linda. So I will say call our office, because there are many different nuances to that question. So are they looking to vend the meals and have that sponsor be its own sponsor? Are they going to run them underneath? So there are different scenarios for that. So call our office.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that additional clarification. Okay, next question. Who do we send the non-congregate feeding report form to? Linda, you want to take that one?
Sorry, taking myself off. Yeah, I was on mute. Sorry. There's an email on top of all of the forms on who to send it to. Just fill out the form and send it to the email at the top.
Great, thank you, Linda. Okay, next one is a comment, not a question. I'd like to thank you all for your dedication and hard work. Thank you so much for that comment. We thank all of you out there doing hard work, and I do want to do a shout out to the team I work with. They have been working long hours to get things moving, so appreciate that comment. Next comment, I'd love to have these webinars weekly. Thank you for that input. Okay, next one is double checking to see if everyone needs to take the summer feeding training. So Marianne, we'll give that to you.
Awesome, thanks, Colleen. So to answer this question is for sponsors who are not planning on continuing the summer feeding operation into the summer months, you do not need to complete the SFSP training. However, if you are planning on continuing the meal service through the summer food service program, then you are required to complete the training. Thanks, Colleen.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you, Marianne. Okay, next one is, what is the last possible date, or excuse me, last possible data capture date for CEP qualification for 2021? And let me see. Jessica, how about you take that one?
Yeah, so there is currently a waiver due to COVID-19 regarding CEP data. You do have the ability to use a date and data anytime between April 1st and June 30th of this year. So June 30th would be your deadline. However, let's say you would like to use today's date as your data capture kind of snapshot. Make sure that you do also include your enrollment list from today's date. So, you know, you can continue to run DC lists all the way up until June 30th. You know, it may not be ideal. You may not obviously be at the school anymore, but up until your last day of the school year, just make sure that whatever date that you do use as your snapshot, that you do include the enrollment list from that date as well.
Great, thank you, Jessica. Okay, next question. TJ, this is for you. Are we anticipating the current COVID waivers will stay in place until June 30th?
Thank you, Colleen. That's a really good question. I know there's different plans out there for different school districts trying to determine how best to meet the needs of their communities. And I just wanted to let everyone know that we did, in fact, the state agency received some waiver updates late yesterday afternoon, which seems to be the norm for us. We get those updates after we've actually planned for a webinar. So we're reviewing all of those waivers, and we'll be sending out broadcast emails to inform everyone about which waivers have extensions and what those extensions apply to. So bear with us, and you should get information shortly on that.
Yeah, thank you, TJ. Okay, we got a couple of comments that said that they love having the webinars weekly. We appreciate that input. We want to give you the customer service that you need. Next one is, I think we've maybe answered this one, what TJ just said. The question is, do you know for sure that emergency meals will end June 1st, or could it be extended? So I believe that TJ just answered that one, that we have gotten some extensions, and we just didn't have time to read through everything before this webinar started. So as was mentioned before, thank you for your patience. And the broadcast emails are going out as we speak, but additional guidance will be coming from us. Okay, next question is for Dominique. On the handout, TJ gave the example, shows breakfast is 3 items. Do we have to have 4 items for summer food? Dominique, are you maybe on mute?
I'm here. I'm on mute. Can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you now. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. This is a great question. In summer food, offer versus serve is a meal service option under normal operations, and you would be required to have 4 food items for breakfast as opposed to 3 food items. However, under COVID-19, all sponsors that are operating currently, offer versus serve is not an allowable meal service style, And so you would only need to serve 3 items for breakfast and 4 items for lunch, and the children would have to take all of the items in a unitized meal. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. It's a great question and good clarification, Dominique. Okay, next one. I just want to clarify that I am doing things correctly. On direct cert, the state matches come off of the enrollment data, so I think it is important to add your new match list frequently, because often the district only updates, only updates that enrollment data a couple of times a year when we run a new match list if it does not update the enrollment data. So TJ, you want to take that one?
Yes, and thank you for pointing this out. That's a really good understanding of how the direct certification system works. So school districts have enrollment data, but they're only required to update their enrollment information with the Department of Education 4 times a year. However, if you are performing regular uploads of your student information, you will receive matches more quickly. And so that's why it's much more important to rely on running a regular direct certification match as opposed to waiting for the state match, which is based off of new enrollment data. So thank you for pointing that out. And yes, you are running your direct cert using best practices. So thank you. And thank you, Colleen.
Yeah, thank you, TJ. Okay, next question, just clarifying, if I have submitted and received an approved waiver for monitoring, that means I don't have to do any of the monitoring for any site locations, question mark. I am at all, but not doing a written review, correct? So Marianne, I'll give that to you.
Thanks, Colleen. So if a sponsor has received a state agency approval for the on-site monitoring waiver, you do not need to complete the monitoring requirements on site, meaning at the site location, but instead can complete it as a desk audit so that we can continue practicing social distancing. Thanks, Colleen.
Yeah, thank you, Marianne. Okay, and then the last comments that we have is another person saying that they also like the webinars weekly. We are so happy that people are finding these useful for their time. So thank you for that input. So we do have, oops, excuse me, I just put myself on mute. We do have a few more minutes, but no more questions. Just as a friendly reminder, we are always an email or a phone call away. Our response rate might be a little lagging compared to what it normally is because, as you can imagine, our voicemail inboxes and our emails are getting quite packed, but we will get back to you, we promise. Okay, one more. Is there a form to certify we have had our training completed? I'm guessing they're talking summer food. So Marianne, I'm going to give that one to you.
Yeah, I can take that. Thanks, Colleen. So if your staff members are completing the SFSP training through the CNP Learning Portal or Training Portal, your staff will receive the certification of completion within 24 hours of completing the presentation. If you're conducting your own SFSP training based on the required topics that you must discuss with your staff, please ensure to create a checklist and a sign-in sheet to verify that your staff all have completed the required training. Thanks, Colleen.
Yeah, thank you, Marianne. Okay, the next question is, will the survey question about webinars be emailed to us individually? No, the way that will happen in the system is you will be asked to give kind of a rating of how the webinar is. And if you just kind of follow the pathway after the webinar, the survey should come up. Now, if it doesn't, then you can certainly just shoot us an email or something like that if you would like. And Jessica already put in there, once the webinar ends, the survey should pop up. Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Jessica, for adding that in there. Okay. Oh, one more question. Do we need to notify a family at this time when they appear on our direct cert list? So who would like to take that one? TJ, you've been answering direct cert. How about if I hand it off to you?
Sure. Thanks, Colleen. I was actually going, oh, well, that's a really good question. Because, you know, the standard regulation is you need to send a notification to the household letting them know that they qualify for free and reduced benefits. However, currently we're operating under the non-congregate nationwide feeding waivers where eligibility is not necessarily changing the course of action. So that's a great question. I think we need to confer. I would suggest that yes, we haven't seen anything that says you do not need to notify a family. But Linda, do you have any input on that?
My reaction would be if they come up on the DC list, you should keep sending out notifications, but that might be something we go to ask USDA on.
That's my interpretation too, so thank you.
Yeah, and the other thing is once somebody is on that list, we're looking at the piggybacking for the next year too. Now, again, realizing that we're under an area eligible waiver at this time, and so, but I like both comments that TJ and Linda gave. I mean, we will get further information from USDA, but I don't think there's any reason to change the process that you would normally have under circumstances before the COVID-19. Okay, so we are again at a standstill for no more questions. So I'll just toss it out to the team one more time at the state agency. Anything that you can think of that we maybe need to share that we haven't so far? Okay, I know that we as a team talk at length on what the most recent questions have been to make sure that we share with you the information that we think is the most important. Really, again, I know we kind of sound like a broken record, but want to thank you so much for all of your hard work. There's never been a time that has really emphasized as much as right now what important jobs you have. And we're really proud of you. I hope you're proud of yourself. You're doing great, great things. And we're just so proud of everyone. So thank you, everyone, and thank you for the nice comments that we've received here on the webinar. So I don't have anything else, and unless anyone else does, I think that we will go ahead and close this webinar, and we will plan on having another one next Thursday from 8:45 to 9:45. So thank you again, everyone.